अभी हम एग्जांपल्स ही करेंगे. कोवेलेंट बॉन्ड में it was that both of them were non-metals. ठीक है. So hydrogen wanted to gain electrons, the other hydrogen atom also wanted to gain electrons. वो एक दूसरे के electrons को pull कर रहे हैं. One of them is attracting the other's electrons. So both of them are equally attracting electrons. So it's like a tug of war, and the electrons will get stuck in the middle. ठीक है? So that is what a covalent bond is. That is what sharing of electrons is. If you have two oxygen atoms, so this oxygen needs two electrons to complete its outer shell. This one also needs two electrons. They're both trying to pull each other's electrons. So these four electrons will eventually get stuck right in the middle. That's so these four electrons are stuck in the middle. So it's like two people fighting over these electrons, and the electrons are right stuck in the middle. So similarly, you had fluorine. The thing is, no one is willing to lose electrons. I said no one is willing to lose electrons. Both of them are trying to gain electrons. Fluorine wanted one electron, the other fluorine also wanted one electron, so two electrons got stuck. I said, anyways, कल पे आते हैं. Yesterday what we did was we talked about the rule, which is that we figured out that if it's a group 7 atom, it already has 7 electrons in its outer shell. It needs one electron, so it's going to make one bond. Group 6 needs 2 electrons. 6 के पास था valence shell में there's 6 electrons, so it needs 2 electrons. It will make 2 bonds. Group 5 will make 3 bonds. It needs 3 electrons. 4 will make 4 bonds because it needs 4 electrons. And hydrogen is not in any group, so it only has 1 electron, so it will share exactly 1 electron. So that's the rule. Who makes how many bonds? And we started learning about structural formulas. It's a lot easier if you just draw the structural formula first. So कल we did some questions. जो I think Soeb did send me the answer. Soeb, you did answer the questions, right? So I'm just going to
Yes.
repeat this. So I have a molecule of C2F6. So I'm going to quickly try and do this. C2F6. So the molecule is that it's got 2 carbons and 1 fluorine. Carbon is group 4. So that means since it is in group 4, that means it's going to make 4 bonds. It needs 4 electrons. Fluorine, on the other hand, is group 7. So group 7 would make 1 bond because it needs 1 electron. So all I have to do is, how do you fit 2 carbons and 6 fluorines? Carbon with fluorine. Remember, fluorine only makes 1 bond. Okay, so ये done हो गया. So then you have carbon needs 3 more bonds. So I'm going to add 2 more fluorines. Fluorine only makes 1 bond. That's done. This fluorine also makes 1 bond. That's also done. So here I'm going to fit another carbon over here because I have to fit another carbon somewhere. And this carbon is supposed to make 4 bonds. So I'm going to fit in 3 more fluorines. So fluorine makes 1 bond, makes 1 bond. This makes 1 bond. Carbon makes 4 bonds, 4 bonds. Okay, so the structure is now complete. That's a complete structural formula. Each carbon atom is making exactly the right number of bonds. Each fluorine atom is exactly making. Remember, fluorine cannot make more than 1 bond. It has to make 1 bond. Carbon has to make 4 bonds at all cost. So now the dotted cross diagram would be easy. Like you need carbons, and you would be needing 6 fluorines. Okay, so here are my 6. So middle में there are your 2 carbons. So 2 carbons and 6 fluorines. And they're all single bonds. That means 1 electron shared, 1 electron shared, 1 electron shared, 1 electron each shared, 1 electron shared, 1 electron shared, and 1 electron shared. Okay, so each one is making exactly 1 bond. And those are all your fluorines. Okay, so I've got a fluorine over here and I've got a fluorine over here as well. Now the next thing is every atom should have 8 electrons in the outer shell. So carbon has 8 electrons. This carbon also has. Fluorine doesn't. So fluorine is supposed to have 6 more electrons. These are your lone pairs. So make sure you draw those lone pairs. Each atom should have a complete outer shell. So the same applies to this fluorine only has 2 electrons, so it should have it should have 8 electrons. That's the dotted cross diagram for this one, C2F6. But remember, it's important to draw the structural formula first before doing anything. You can then translate that structural formula into a dotted cross diagram. I'm going to try and do N2H4 now. Ayan, ye wala clear? Is this clear, this part?
Clear.
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to try and do H2O2 now. Okay, let's try and do H2O2. Okay, you've got H2O2. So first thing, oxygen is in group 6. So group 6 कितने बनाता है? It makes 2 bonds, right? Okay, group 6, just look at the table. That's it already has 6 electrons. It needs 2 electrons. It's going to make 2 bonds. So group 6 makes 2 bonds. And hydrogen over here makes only 1 bond. So I have to somehow fit 2 oxygens and 1 hydrogen. Remember, hydrogen that only makes 1 bond. So that's done. 1 bond made. Who's going to make it with? Let's put oxygen over there. Now, oxygen is supposed to make 2 bonds. So oxygen should have another bond. Now I can make that bond with a hydrogen, or I can make it with an oxygen. If I make it with a hydrogen, I can't make further bonds because bonds सारों के complete हो जाएंगे. Oxygen is making 2 bonds. Hydrogen is making 1 bond. This hydrogen is also making 1 bond. So I can't fit another oxygen anywhere because the bonding is complete. So instead, I should not have a hydrogen over here. I should have an oxygen over here. So iski bonding abhi incomplete. It still needs 1 bond. So I'm going to put in a hydrogen, right? So now the structure is complete. Okay, your atoms are making, this is supposed to make 2 bonds. This is supposed to make 2 bonds. This was supposed to make only 1 bond, and this was supposed to make only 1 bond. So, okay, drawing the dotted cross diagram is easy. Just place 2 oxygens, and you've got 2 hydrogens next to it. Okay, a single bond between them, single bond between the hydrogen and oxygen, single bond. So I'm going to draw those single bonds. Single bond. अच्छा इसका एक, both oxygen should have the same symbol. And single bond. Now, every atom should have a complete outer shell. Hydrogen can have a maximum of 2 electrons. That's fine. Oxygen should have a total of 8 electrons in its outer shell. So it already has 4. So it should have 4 more electrons. Same applies to this one. Okay, so don't forget to draw these lone pairs, the electrons that are not involved in bonding. Okay. Now the oxygen is complete. That's 8 electrons, and that's the dotted cross diagram of H2O2. अच्छा कुछ और कर लेते हैं. Let's say I've got अच्छा this one I've got uh, let's make it क्या होगा. अच्छा C F2O. Let's say I've got this molecule and I want to make the Dorian cross diagram of this molecule. First thing, there's one carbon, two fluorines, and one oxygen. First thing, carbon group 4 में कितने bonds बनाएगा? Yeah, how many bonds does a group 4 make? Abdullah, Yan, Shoaib.
4.
ठीक है, so it's going to make 4. ठीक है. Fluorine is in group 7. So how many bonds? Group 7.
7 bonds.
The group 7 means it already has 7 electrons in its outer shell. So how many more electrons does it need?
One more.
So it's going to make one bond. It's going to make one bond. So that one is the other group 7 makes only one bond, right? So group 7, so group 7 over here is going to make just one bond. And then we've got oxygen over here. That's so that one is group 6. So it's going to make 2 bonds. As that one is going to make 2 bonds. So I've got 1 carbon, 2 fluorines, and 1 oxygen. So 1 carbon, remember it's going to make 4 bonds. So I'm going to put fluorines next to it. Fluorine makes only 1 bond. Let's say there's another fluorine, that fluorine would also make. As that fluorine would also make 1 bond. And I'm left with 1 oxygen. The oxygen is supposed to make 2 bonds. So carbon के bonds complete हो गए. Carbon is making 4 bonds. This carbon over here, that's making a total of 4 bonds. 1 over here, 1 over here, 2 over here. Oxygen makes 2 bonds. Fluorine makes 1 bond. Fluorine makes 1 bond. So it's like a puzzle. So we've figured this out. So drawing the Dorian cross diagram is now fairly easy. I've got, I'm going to draw a carbon. And I'm going to draw 2 fluorines. And I'm going to draw an oxygen. I'm just going to follow that. Okay, so that's my fluorine, that's another fluorine. And here comes the oxygen. So you've got carbon, single bond over here, and a double bond over here. I'm going to draw oxygen's electrons as shaded dots. Okay, so double bond on this side. So I've got single bond, and on the other side I've got a double bond. So you done okay. Remember, every atom should have 8 electrons in total. So this oxygen needs 4 more. There are already 4 electrons here. To have 8 electrons, you need 4 more. The carbon's 8 electrons in the middle are complete. You can look around it, it's 8. Fluorine needs 6 more electrons, so there's going to be six crosses. And this fluorine would also have it's also going to have 6 crosses. The next part is that's it. So now you're going to try and do one question. Make sure you have a mobile so you can send a picture to me. Okay? If you don't try and do these questions, let's start with the simplest one. Let's just say here's a molecule, and that's so the formula of the molecule is it's HNCO. And I'm going to tell you the group numbers. H is not in any group, it's just shares 1 electron. Nitrogen is group 5. Carbon is group 4. Oxygen is group 6. So everyone draw the structural formula and then also the dotted cross diagram as well. But try it. Just try and draw this and send me a picture as quickly as possible. So first one, give it a first one. भेज दिया?
सर मैं भेज रहा हूँ।
अच्छा मैं इधर
सर इसमें व्हाट्सएप नहीं है ना, वो तो अब्बू को भेज दिया।
अच्छा
वो भेजने आपको।
तो ठीक है, उसके बाद भेज देना। HNCO, ठीक है, HNCO मैं चेक भी कर लूंगा, पता नहीं सही भी लिखा है कि नहीं लिखा है। HNCO, that's अच्छा, how many bonds? H only makes one bond, right? उसका बताओ, how many bonds will N make?
2 3 3
group 5 है, ठीक है, that's it's going to make 3 bonds. Carbon is group 4, so that will make 4 bonds. And oxygen is group 6, so that will make
2.
That will make 2 bonds. So I'm going to start with the structural formula first. N, hydrogen makes 1 bond, so that 1 bond is with N. So hydrogen is done. N ke aage I'm going to put carbon over here. Now N is supposed to make 3 bonds, so there should be 2 more bonds with someone else. So let's put carbon over there. N complete organ, it's making 3 bonds. Now carbon is supposed to make 4 bonds. Right now it's making 2 bonds, so they should be making 2 more bonds with oxygen. Okay, so you're done. The structure is complete. Okay, carbon over here is making 4 bonds. Oxygen is making 2 bonds. N is making 3 bonds. 1 with hydrogen, 2 with this one. So the structure is complete. All you have to do is draw the 4 circles. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this is HNCO. Okay, just try and use different symbols for each one. H and N ke beech mein there's a single bond. N and C, that's a double bond. So I'm going to shade one of them. Okay, that's a double bond. Achha, C and O is also a double bond. So that's C. Oxygen jo na wo ye hai. Okay, so that's a double bond. So the structure is complete. All you have to do is to ensure that each one has full outer shells. N needs how many electrons? It already has 6, so it needs 2 more. As a carbon over here needs its 8 electrons are complete. Oxygen over here has 2 electrons at the moment, 4 over here, so it needs 4 more electrons. और H is already complete with 2 electrons. ठीक है, so the structure is now complete. ठीक है, ये clear है?
Yeah.
Just similarly, we can try to C2F4. ठीक है, let's try to C2F4. Okay, what happens in now? Carbon makes is group 4, right? So it's supposed to make 4 bonds. Fluorine is group 7. So it will only make one bond. Okay, so you've got carbon making 4 bonds. Direct, don't draw dotting cross. So I've got 2 carbons. So let's say carbon is supposed to make each carbon should make 4 bonds, and I've got 2 fluorines, 4 fluorines. So if I put 2 over here, अच्छा fluorine एक ही बनाना है, so fluorines bonds are complete. I'm going to put 2 fluorines over here. अच्छा, is this structure correct or not? So is this correct?
Yes.
Is carbon making 4 bonds?
Carbon. Yes, it's correct.
Is carbon is not making 4 bonds, it's making how many bonds? 3.
Oh, yes.
This carbon is also making 3 bonds. We ran out of fluorine. We just had 4 fluorines. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So carbon bonding
So
is
it's not correct.
at the moment it's not correct. Carbon needs to make one more bond. This carbon also needs to make one more bond. Is that clear?
वो डबल बॉन्ड बना दे बीच से कार्बन कार्बन में.
हाँ ठीक है, तो बस वो काम हो गया, डबल बॉन्ड बना लो, ठीक है. So it's done, you're done, ठीक है. So just make a double bond in between, that's it. So now the structure is complete. Carbon is making 4 bonds, 2 over here, 1 with fluorine. This one is making 2 over here, 1 with fluorine. Now drawing the dot and cross diagram would be easy. 2 carbons, and you got and you got 2 fluorines. So you have enough. As I've got 2 carbons and how many fluorines? Carbon, fluorine. So now they've got a double bond in the middle. So that's 2 electrons each shared. A single bond over here, a single bond over here, a single bond here, and a single bond over here. Upar wale ko follow karo, that's it. And remaining electrons of carbon, does it have 8 electrons? It already has 8 electrons. This carbon also has 8 electrons. Fluorine के 8 पूरे करने हैं, ठीक है? So you need 6 electrons for fluorine. And for this you also need so this one you would need 6 electrons, and for this you would also need 6 electrons. ठीक है? All your 6 electrons are now going to be complete, ठीक है? तो चलो ये बाकी I'm sharing the board link. ये मुझे सारे भेजो complete करके, ठीक है? These were the questions, 2 are already solved. I'm going to put this on the WhatsApp group. तो ये करो, चलो ठीक है everyone.
अल्लाह हाफिज़ सर।
Okay, Allah Hafiz.
Allah.